people are feeling different ways in regards to how the states is going right now, as far as what's happening and all this other stuff. And a lot of people don't like Trump. A lot of people are feeling that he's autocratic, he's a dictator, he's whatever. They all have their things about him. But what I could say, they have this kind of Trump derangement where no matter what this dude does, he is the worst person that ever existed. Some people compared him to Hitler. Now, I understand some things that he's done that people probably necessarily don't agree with, and that's fine. I didn't vote for him. I don't like a lot of the policies that he had, that he's having. But at the same time, I think it's important that if you strip down the layers, you understand where this country has gone over the past decade or so plus with all these progressive policies. I think it's important that now that the transition is going back to I'm gonna use a relative term, a normal phase or a normal position where there are only two genders, where we're not promoting debauchery to our youth, and that we're focused more on getting this country and the people in this country back to a healthy state. Now, a lot of people may disagree with me, and that's fine. That's the beauty of freedom of speech, and that's the beauty of living in this country. But what I do want to mention, and what I don't want people to really forget, is that just because somebody has a certain opinion on something doesn't mean that they need to get doxxed or that they need to be, treated in any other way. You might not like that person. There's a lot of things that I don't like about people's opinions. Doesn't mean I don't like that person as a whole, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm on X a lot, and I see a lot of racist type talk and all this other stuff going on or whatever. But I mean, if I got mad at every single comment or opinion that everybody had because it went against what I believed or went against how I believe that humanity should be acting, then I'll be in a very depressive state. As long as you good on your values and you understand where you stand and these are your own thoughts and opinions, and you're not being spoon fed these thoughts and opinions from media and, you know, people that push this type of divisive rhetoric, then you should be good to go. You stand on your own 10 toes, you do what you got to do, and you have your own opinions. Because with me, it's like, even though I don't agree with the left and I don't agree with the right, I'm always looking for the center point. I'm a person that focuses on the centralizing of thought, because everything good happens in moderation. And the left is really pushing, making it sound like, like I said, Trump is the worst person that has walked the planet. And honestly, no matter what he does, people don't like it. When this DEI thing came out, people thought that he was going to cancel Black History Month. He published the Black History recognition little piece on his White House page or whatever. That didn't get airplay. He hosted the Black History thing or whatever it was at the White House. And right away, you got the people on the left and people that don't like Trump talking about that was a ploy, or he was reading and this, that, whatever. Man, I don't got a problem with him reading the accomplishments of all these important people that actually had an impact on society, because they accomplished a lot of things. And for him to just go straight freestyle all these things, no, I wouldn't do that either. There's a reason why he has speechwriters or important people have these type of, speeches that help them to remember and to stay on point when they're talking about certain issues or certain topics. So there's nothing wrong with him having to read something off of a piece of paper. I don't think people understand the rationale behind Trump. And honestly, it's kind of finicky, because at one hand, he's talking about, diversity to this, we're going to get rid of this, but then he has people at the White House. Well, he has black people at the White House. He's saying that he's getting rid of all type of these diversity type of programs and all this other stuff inside of the workplace, federal workplace and stuff like that. And yet he has one at the White House. So I understand the dissonance between, what he's saying and what he's doing. I understand that fully. Trust me. At the end of the day, you got to understand something. You got to understand the actions of the man. Trump is he's very upfront, personal. He's very I'm gonna say what's on my mind regardless. He's not a typical politician. He's a businessman, and in the business world, you know, it's cutthroat, and you say what you got to say, right? He's always talking about deals. He's always talking about money. That's how he's looking at America. He's looking at it as USA Incorporated. And that's honestly, regardless of him being in the office, that's how this country is ran. It's ran like a corporation. We hear so much about how we hate China, but if we decoupled our economy from China, the U.S. economy would probably sink, or it would feel the impacts of not being coupled with China. All I'm saying is, at the end of the day, I understand why you don't like the man. I understand. During his previous time in office, when the protests with George Floyd and all this other stuff broke out, trust me, I was a big Trump hater. I felt for the propaganda on the left on causing this divisiveness based on race. And that's the only reason, actually, the only way that I see that the left stays in power is by causing divisiveness. You see Al Sharpton over there talking about they're going to stop shopping at Target because they're getting rid of their DEI programs and this, that, whatever. And that's fine. However, he brings them right over to Costco, where the board for Costco is mostly white. And honestly, I'm gonna have another video about this, my actual opinions on this DEI program. But I would say that the personnel or the people that mostly benefited from these DEI programs are mostly liberal white women, right? It wasn't blacks. And to associate DEI with being black particularly is a flawed premise. And that shows how much the propaganda in the left, because they're the ones really pushing it. CNN, MSNBC, ABC News, all these left-leaning media outlets are really pushing this fact that DEI equates to being black, right? So I think at the end of the day, and I keep saying it, I will continue to keep saying it on this channel, is that we have to be able to think for ourselves and not fall for this propaganda. A lot of us will fall for it, but it's people out there like Savvy Sabs and LFR Family and the Black Conservative and stuff like that. Even though I don't agree with a lot of what they say, well, much of what they say, I would say, they do give you a very different perspective from the black point of view, from the black perspective in regards to being a conservative or whatever you are, a Republican, and seeing things outside of that left-leaning lens, because that's what needs to happen. The Democrats haven't done anything for us. They talking about how Trump's getting rid of DEI, this, that, whatever, but they never talk about Obama when he was going to shrink down the federal government and and focus on waste and all this other stuff, even though we didn't really see the impacts of that, whether or not he even tried to do so. Or in the early 90s when Bill Clinton was talking about doing the same thing, and he actually had legislation to support that and enforce that. Nobody talks about that. Nobody remembers that. All they remember is Trump, 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 Trump. Everybody liked Trump prior to him running in 2016. Everyone had no issue with Trump prior to him running in 2016. The moment he ran is when all the hate pieces started, when all the character assassination pieces started. Everybody started coming out the woodwork talking about how they didn't like Trump. I got it, understood. And then Biden got elected, and he promised this, and he said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. When he was talking to Charlemagne, the funny, not ha-ha funny, but the funny part of the situation is, even though he said that, he still had a lot of the black vote. I don't know, man. You tell me. You tell me. I just believe that at the end of the day, we have to really begin thinking for ourselves. This channel is primarily focused on the oppressed and the oppressors. However, a lot of my channel topics are focused on the black experience because, number one, I'm black. Number two, that's my perspective. That's my lens. However, at the same time, we have to be able to see that all these struggles are interconnected. All these struggles are interconnected. There's nothing that doesn't matter. There's nothing that doesn't affect the other thing, right? So that's where this channel's headed. That's where this channel's going. That is my intention for this channel. But all I'm saying at the end of the day is you have to be able to think for yourself, man. You got to be able to look at both sides, look at them as objective as you possibly can, and dig into the background, because right now we being played. We are being played by everything that is going on. We are being played They're trying to control our thoughts by the words and the terminology they use, and it affects how we react to different situations. So ultimately, I would say, do your due diligence, man. Do your due diligence. Do your research before you just start going out there, just, going on TikTok or X or whatever it is and propagating this false narrative that DEI is equated to black people, this, that, whatever. Have you ever looked at the stats? Have you looked at the stats as far as how many people are benefited from DEI? If you haven't, you might want to go do that, right? You might want to go do that. And stop looking at the same news stations. You know what I'm saying? You have to go and vary your news sources and do things differently, man, and think for yourself, yo. Our future depends on this, and more importantly, our children's future and our whole line is impacted on what we as individuals, talking about myself and people that are here and paying attention to the news and all this other stuff. We have to be cognizant of it, man. We have to be pay attention to this and understand. People don't understand politics that much, and they don't, pay attention to it much. But you can see how politics has a direct impact on our lives and on our institutions, and this affects how we go ahead and we live our lives. Now we got Elon Musk in there is talking about, Doge and all this other stuff, and people ain't feeling that, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, the bottom line is the government does need to be cleaned out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse when it comes to government programs, and we need to kind of, tighten that up. Whether or not Elon Musk should be doing it, that's a different question, and I won't get into that. But either way, we need to do something, man. We can't continue living and having our government operate the way it operates just because it's been doing that for time immemorial doesn't mean that it should continue doing that. We struggling right now. We the people are struggling right now, right? Eggs is like $8. You go to Mexico and stuff like that, damn eggs is like $1 something, $2 something. I just saw a video on that, and we paying whatever the hell we paying for eggs. And jobs is weird. They're not hiring. They trying to cut people. AI is making, AI is replacing people. So we got a lot of stuff going on that we need to really pay attention to, man. And we got to get our voices out there. You know what I'm saying? We got to get our voices out there and stop sitting on the sidelines pretending that none of this stuff is going to matter, or none of this stuff does matter, because like I said, at the end of the day, everything matters. There's nothing that doesn't matter. But I just wanted to get on here and talk to y'all, man. But again, I'm going to be putting out that DEI video on my own personal opinion on DEI and some other stuff. Hopefully everybody's well, family's well, all that stuff. But again, until next time, peace and love.